God, here I am again, sitting at my kitchen table with bills spread out in front of me, my calculator in hand, and my heart heavy with worry. The numbers don't add up the way I need them to, and I feel that familiar knot in my stomach that comes when I think about our financial situation. I've been carrying this burden for so long, trying to figure out how to make everything work, how to stretch every dollar, how to provide for my family's needs when there never seems to be enough. I know you see me in these moments of anxiety, when I'm adding up the same numbers over and over again, hoping somehow they'll change. The weight of financial responsibility feels crushing sometimes, and I'm tired of lying awake at night worrying about money. I need your peace to replace this anxiety, your provision to meet our needs, and your wisdom to guide our financial decisions. Help me remember that you are my provider, not my paycheck or my bank account. Father, I confess that I've been trying to control our financial future through my own strength and worry. I've been operating from a place of fear instead of faith, scarcity instead of abundance, anxiety instead of trust. Every unexpected expense sends me into a panic, every bill in the mailbox makes my heart race, and I've been living paycheck to paycheck not just financially but emotionally. I've been hoarding money out of fear rather than being generous out of faith. I've been making financial decisions based on worst-case scenarios instead of trusting you to provide for our needs. I've been comparing our financial situation to others and feeling inadequate when I see families who seem to have more than we do. I know that worry doesn't add a single dollar to our bank account, but I can't seem to stop myself from spiraling into financial anxiety. Forgive me for trying to be my own provider and for not trusting you completely with our financial well-being. Lord, I need to be honest about the shame I feel around our financial struggles. When I have to say no to my children's requests because we can't afford something, I feel like I'm failing as a parent. When I see other families taking vacations or buying new things while we're carefully budgeting every expense, I feel embarrassed about our situation. When friends invite us to dinner out or activities that cost money, I make excuses rather than admitting we can't afford it. I feel like I should have it all figured out by now, like other adults my age have somehow mastered money management while I'm still struggling to make ends meet. The shame makes me want to hide from conversations about money, avoid looking at our bank statements, and pretend everything is fine when it's not. I know that my worth isn't determined by my net worth, but sometimes it feels like everyone is judging our financial decisions. Help me release this shame and remember that financial struggles don't define my value as a person or a parent. God, the stress of managing our household budget is overwhelming. I feel like I'm constantly juggling which bills to pay first, which expenses to postpone, and how to stretch our grocery budget to last the whole month. I clip coupons, compare prices, buy generic brands, and still feel like we're barely staying afloat. I've become obsessed with tracking every penny, checking our bank balance multiple times a day, and calculating how much we can spend on necessities. The mental energy required to manage our tight budget is exhausting, and I feel like I can't enjoy simple pleasures because I'm always worried about the cost. Even small expenses like a coffee or a magazine feel like luxuries we can't afford. I want to be a good steward of our money, but the constant vigilance required to stay within our budget is wearing me down. Help me find balance between being responsible with our finances and not letting money worries consume my thoughts and energy. Father, I'm struggling with the tension between wanting to provide for my family and trusting you to provide for us. I want to give my children everything they need and some of what they want, but our budget doesn't always allow for that. I feel guilty when I have to say no to school activities, birthday parties, or social events because of the cost. I worry that my children will feel different from their friends or miss out on important experiences because of our financial limitations. At the same time, I know that some of the most valuable lessons come from learning to live within our means and appreciating what we have. I want to teach my children about money management, generosity, and contentment, but I also don't want them to carry the burden of adult financial stress. I find myself torn between sheltering them from our financial struggles and preparing them for the realities of managing money. Help me know how to navigate these conversations with wisdom and age-appropriate honesty. Lord, the pressure to keep up with others financially is suffocating. Social media shows me glimpses of other families' vacations, new purchases, and lifestyle upgrades that seem out of reach for us. I see friends renovating their homes while we're trying to save for basic repairs. I watch other parents signing their children up for multiple activities while we carefully budget for one sport per child. I feel pressure to contribute to teacher gifts, charity fundraisers, and social events even when our budget is already stretched thin. The comparison trap makes me feel like we're falling behind, like we're not successful enough, like we're somehow failing at life because we don't have the financial resources others seem to have. I know that everyone's financial situation is different and that social media doesn't show the full picture, but it's hard not to feel inadequate when I'm constantly seeing what we can't afford. Help me focus on our own journey and find contentment with what you've provided for us. God, I want to talk about the fear that keeps me awake at night. I'm afraid that we'll never get ahead financially, that we'll always be living paycheck to paycheck, that one emergency will derail our entire financial stability. I'm afraid that we're not saving enough for retirement, that we won't be able to help our children with college expenses, that we'll never own a home or build any wealth. I'm afraid that I'll lose my job or that my husband will get sick and be unable to work. Every financial decision feels monumentally important because we don't have much margin for error. I'm afraid of making the wrong choice about insurance, investments, or major purchases because we can't afford to make mistakes. This fear paralyzes me sometimes, making it hard to make any financial decisions at all. I want to plan wisely for the future, but I also don't want to live in constant anxiety about things that may never happen. Help me trust you with our future and make wise decisions without being controlled by fear. Father, I need your wisdom about the balance between faith and action when it comes to our finances. I know that I should trust you to provide for our needs, but I also know that I have a responsibility to work hard and make wise financial decisions. Sometimes I feel like I'm not trusting you enough if I worry about money, but I also know that being completely passive about our finances wouldn't be wise either. I want to pray about our financial needs and trust you for provision, but I also want to take practical steps to improve our situation. I want to be generous and give to others, but I also need to be responsible about providing for my family's needs. I want to believe that you will provide for our needs, but I also want to have emergency savings and insurance to protect us from unexpected expenses. Help me understand how to integrate faith and practical wisdom in our financial life. Lord, I'm dealing with the stress of debt that feels overwhelming. Credit card balances that keep growing, student loans that seem like they'll never be paid off, a mortgage that takes most of our monthly income. It all feels like a weight I'll never be able to lift. I feel trapped by monthly payments that leave little room for anything else, and I'm embarrassed by how much we owe. I know that getting into debt was often the result of poor decisions or unexpected circumstances, but now I feel stuck in a cycle where we're paying for past mistakes instead of being able to move forward. The interest charges alone make me feel like we're running on a treadmill, working hard but not getting anywhere. I want to be debt-free, but the path to get there seems impossibly long and difficult. Every month we try to pay extra on our debts, but then something unexpected comes up and we end up charging more. Help me find hope that we can break free from this debt cycle and create a better financial future for our family. God, I struggle with the guilt I feel about wanting financial security. Sometimes I feel like I should be content with less, like wanting to improve our financial situation somehow shows a lack of faith or gratitude. I know that money isn't everything and that some of the happiest people have very little, but I also know that financial stress affects every area of our lives. I want to provide a stable home for my family, to be generous with others, to not worry constantly about making ends meet. I want to be able to say yes when my children need something for school or when friends invite us to activities. I want to save for our future and have some financial margin for unexpected expenses. These desires feel reasonable to me, but sometimes I wonder if wanting financial stability is somehow selfish or materialistic. Help me understand that it's okay to want financial peace, that seeking to improve our situation isn't wrong, and that you want good things for your children. Father, I need your help with the decision-making paralysis that comes with financial stress. Every purchase feels like it has major consequences when money is tight. Should we buy the cheaper option that might not last as long, or spend more for something that will last longer? Should we try to save money by doing things ourselves, or pay professionals to do them right? Should we take on debt to handle a necessary expense, or try to save up and risk something breaking down in the meantime? Should we cut back on activities for the kids to save money, or maintain some normalcy in their lives? These decisions feel overwhelming because we don't have much room for financial mistakes. I find myself researching every purchase obsessively, reading reviews, comparing prices, and still feeling unsure about what to do. The mental energy required to make these decisions is exhausting, and I often end up avoiding them altogether, which creates its own problems. Help me make wise financial decisions without being paralyzed by the fear of making the wrong choice. For those watching, there's a special ebook in our pinned comment called Don't Think, Trust and Surrender that can help ease anxiety symptoms. Remember, this complements but doesn't replace professional guidance. Lord, I want to address the impact that financial stress is having on my family relationships. Money arguments with my spouse have become more frequent, and we both feel the pressure of trying to make our income stretch to cover all our needs. We have different approaches to handling money, and the stress makes it hard to communicate about finances without emotions getting heated. I find myself being short-tempered with my children over small expenses, and I hate that money worries are affecting how I parent. I feel like financial stress is stealing joy from our family time because I'm always thinking about what we can't afford rather than enjoying what we have. I don't want my children to grow up feeling like money is always a source of stress and conflict. I want our home to be a place of peace and joy, but it's hard to create that atmosphere when I'm constantly worried about our financial situation. Help us learn to communicate better about money and not let financial stress damage our relationships with each other. God, I'm struggling with the shame of having to ask for help when we can't make ends meet. Whether it's borrowing money from family, accepting help from our church, or applying for assistance programs, it feels like admitting failure. I was raised to be independent and self-sufficient, and needing help feels like I'm not living up to those values. I worry about what people will think if they know we're struggling financially, and I feel embarrassed about our situation. At the same time, I'm grateful for people who want to help us, and I know that accepting help graciously is important too. I want to teach my children about both independence and interdependence, both working hard and accepting help when needed. Help me release the pride that makes it hard to accept assistance and remember that everyone needs help sometimes. Show me how to receive help with gratitude rather than shame, and help me look for opportunities to help others when our situation improves. Father, I need your perspective on the purpose of money in our lives. I know that money is a tool, not the goal, but sometimes it feels like everything revolves around financial concerns. I want to use money to bless others, to provide for my family's needs, and to further your kingdom, but right now I feel like we're just trying to survive financially. I want to be generous and give to others, but I feel like we barely have enough for ourselves. I want to save for the future, but our current needs take everything we have. I want to enjoy some of the good things that money can provide, but I feel guilty about spending on anything that isn't absolutely necessary. Help me understand how to have a healthy relationship with money, neither loving it too much nor being so afraid of it that I can't make wise decisions. Show me how to use money as a tool for good while not letting financial concerns dominate my thoughts and emotions. Lord, I want to talk about the dreams I've put on hold because of our financial situation. I used to think about starting my own business, going back to school, or taking the family on meaningful trips, but those dreams feel impossible now. I want to pursue opportunities that could improve our financial situation, but they often require upfront investments we can't afford. I want to develop my skills and talents, but classes and training cost money we don't have. I feel like we're stuck in a cycle where we can't invest in opportunities that might help us get ahead because we're using all our resources just to stay afloat. Sometimes I wonder if I'm being irresponsible by not taking more risks to improve our situation, but I also can't afford to gamble with our family's financial security. Help me know when to take calculated risks and when to be patient and wait for better opportunities. Show me how to pursue my dreams within our current constraints and trust you for the right timing for bigger changes. God, I'm dealing with the physical and emotional toll that financial stress is taking on my health. I have headaches from worrying about bills, stomach problems from the constant anxiety, and trouble sleeping because my mind races with financial concerns. The stress is affecting my relationships, my work performance, and my ability to enjoy life. I know that worry doesn't help our financial situation, but I can't seem to stop the anxious thoughts that spiral through my mind. I feel like I'm aging faster because of the stress, and I'm concerned about the long-term health effects of living with constant financial anxiety. I want to find peace and take care of my health, but it's hard to relax when there are so many financial concerns weighing on my mind. Help me learn to manage financial stress in healthy ways, and remember that my health is more important than any amount of money. Show me how to cast my anxieties on you and find rest for my soul. Father, I need your help in teaching my children healthy attitudes about money. I want them to understand the value of hard work and the importance of being responsible with money, but I don't want them to develop an unhealthy anxiety about finances. I want them to be content with what they have while also having dreams and goals for their future. I want them to be generous and willing to help others, but also wise about their own financial needs. I'm afraid that our current financial struggles are teaching them to worry about money the way I do, and I don't want to pass this anxiety on to them. At the same time, I think there's value in them understanding that money requires careful management and that not everything they want is something they can have. Help me model healthy financial attitudes for my children and teach them both contentment and ambition, both gratitude and goal setting, both generosity and wisdom. Lord, I want to address the spiritual aspects of our financial struggles. Sometimes I wonder if we're being tested, if there's something I need to learn from this season of financial difficulty. Other times I wonder if we're experiencing consequences from past poor decisions, or if there's some sin in our lives that's affecting our financial situation. I've heard people say that God wants His children to prosper financially, but I've also heard that money can be a stumbling block to spiritual growth. I'm confused about what you want for us financially and how our faith should impact our financial situation. I want to honor you with our money, but I'm not sure what that looks like when we're struggling to pay our bills. I want to trust you for provision, but I also want to be responsible and work hard. Help me understand how to integrate my faith with our financial reality and trust you regardless of our financial circumstances. God, I'm learning that my security doesn't come from my bank account balance or my financial situation. You are my provider, my security, my peace in the midst of financial storms. When I look at our circumstances, I feel overwhelmed, but when I look at your character and your promises, I find hope. You have provided for your people throughout history, and you will provide for us too. You see our needs before we even ask, and you care about every detail of our lives, including our financial concerns. I want to live from a place of trust rather than fear, abundance rather than scarcity, faith rather than anxiety. Help me remember that my children will learn more from watching me trust you through difficult times than they will from having all their material needs met easily. Show me how to find contentment in any financial situation and trust you for our daily bread. Father, I'm beginning to see that you might be using our financial challenges to draw me closer to you. When money was less of a concern, I relied more on my own resources and less on your provision. Now that we're struggling financially, I'm praying more, trusting more, and depending on you in ways I never have before. I'm learning to be grateful for small blessings, to find joy in simple pleasures, and to appreciate relationships more than possessions. I'm discovering that some of my happiest moments have nothing to do with money. They're about connection, love, and faith. While I still want our financial situation to improve, I don't want to lose the spiritual growth that has come from this season of struggle. Help me carry these lessons with me regardless of our financial circumstances. Show me how to remain dependent on you whether we have little or much. Lord, I want to commit to changing my relationship with money and financial stress. I commit to bringing my financial anxieties to you in prayer rather than carrying them alone. I commit to making decisions based on wisdom and faith rather than fear and anxiety. I commit to being grateful for what we have rather than focusing on what we lack. I commit to being generous with others even when our resources are limited, knowing that generosity is an attitude of the heart more than an amount in the bank. I commit to teaching my children healthy attitudes about money by modeling contentment, gratitude, and trust. I commit to communicating better with my spouse about financial matters and working together as a team. I commit to seeking wise counsel when making major financial decisions. I commit to trusting you with our future and believing that you will provide for our needs. Most importantly, I commit to finding my security in you rather than in any financial circumstance. God, I ask for your blessing on our finances, not just for our own benefit, but so that we can be a blessing to others. Help us make wise decisions that honor you and provide for our family's needs. Open doors of opportunity for increased income if that's your will, and help us be good stewards of whatever resources you provide. Give us creative solutions to our financial challenges and the courage to make necessary changes. Help us find ways to reduce our expenses without sacrificing what's truly important. Protect us from financial emergencies that could derail our progress, and help us build an emergency fund to handle unexpected expenses. Most importantly, help us keep our financial goals in proper perspective and remember that our relationship with you is more valuable than any amount of money. Father, I pray for every person who hears this prayer and recognizes their own financial struggles in these words. Help us support each other rather than judge each other. Help us be honest about our financial challenges while also celebrating our victories. Help us remember that everyone's financial journey is different and that comparison only leads to discouragement. Remind us that our worth isn't determined by our net worth, and that you love us regardless of our financial circumstances. Help us find practical ways to help each other, sharing resources, offering encouragement, and providing emotional support. Show us how to create communities of mutual aid where we can help each other through difficult financial seasons. May our financial struggles draw us closer to you and to each other, rather than isolating us in shame and fear. Lord, as I finish this prayer, I feel a sense of peace replacing the anxiety that brought me here. I'm reminded that you are bigger than our financial problems, stronger than our circumstances, and more faithful than our fears. I don't have to have all the answers or solve all our financial problems in my own strength. You are working behind the scenes, providing in ways I may not even see, and preparing us for the future you have planned. I surrender our financial situation to you completely. Our debts, our dreams, our fears, and our hopes. I trust you to provide for our needs, guide our decisions, and give us peace in the midst of financial challenges. Thank you for loving us through every season, for being our provider and our peace. I choose to rest in your care and trust in your provision. In Jesus' name, Amen. If this prayer has brought you comfort and hope today, please hit the like button and share it with someone else who might be struggling with financial stress. Remember that you're not alone in this journey, and God sees every need, every worry, and every prayer. Let's support each other through these challenges and celebrate together when breakthrough comes.